Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. We're yet again in World Flight VR. This trip, since in our last video we got away from the feds and we got ET back to where he belonged, now we're going to take a little pleasure cruise over Niagara Falls. I haven't seen what Niagara Falls looks like in this game, but we're going to find out what it looks like today. It's not too far away, but it is behind me there. So we're going to go ahead and get this thing started here. We'll get up in the air, we'll take off on over there, we'll take a look and see what she looks like. Like I said, I'm going to try and keep my videos just a little bit shorter. One thing I am going to talk about today, though, a little bit, is mainly for the developers. But, so we'll continue that once we get into the air here. So. Good little rollout here. Drift a little to the right. We're up. Flaps up and our landing here. Left-hand turn here. We're making that left-hand turn at Albuquerque. Just left the Niagara Falls International Airport. .7 miles out. It'll be a short little flight. Thankfully the airport's fairly close by. So what I wanted to talk about, I had my dad actually finally get into the headset and play around with it a little bit. My dad has experience flying. He's had his private pilot's license for some time. And he got into it and he likes it. He does. He understands that there are limitations to VR and everything, and he's very dead set on having some type of an actual like simulator, you know, something that you can grab a hold of everything on, have tension and stuff, which that's great. One thing he did talk about though was the stick. He says that he notices that there's a bit of a larger dead zone in the stick. He's used to flying aircraft that have like your steering yoke. He did mention about that would be nice for something like this to have. And I don't know, maybe that could be an option. Maybe for people that aren't used to a flight stick like this, maybe there could be options to have it to where there's a steering yoke for those that are more comfortable with that, or a side yoke. I'm not a huge fan of that, but if you wanted to make an option, I'm sure somebody would enjoy it just fine. But he did say that there needs to be more responsiveness in the controls. And we watched a few videos and stuff of, actual planes flying and stuff, and if you notice, he said that basically if you take this stick and do this, the plane should move, and it does, but he says that there should be more movement to it. He feels like that the dead zone on the stick is just a little bit much. So perhaps maybe for the developers, maybe add a little bit more sensitivity to the controls, or maybe even like an ability to dial up and or down the sensitivity for people that may not have that preference and stuff. Maybe they like a little bit more of a gap in there somewhere. But so that was just something he talked about. He also talked about the rudder pedals. He feels like the rudder pedals are maybe a little too sensitive, so maybe a little less on those. All right, so we are getting over I believe this is the Niagara River here. That's an interesting little thing there. The bridge is down. bigger city here. So that is the Niagara Falls. Oh, that's interesting. 3D environment isn't great with that. I think I went up the falls on that one. Yeah, I think I did. We'll swing around here and we'll go the other direction, get a different view of it. It'll go up a little higher here, get a little altitude here, and swing around. See if it looks a little better higher up. Maybe it does. I don't know. But again, that's kind of that trade-off. You know, I mean, is it Microsoft Flight Simulator? No, it's not. So is it going to be hyper photorealistic? No, it's not. But you know what? It's still fun. I'm absolutely loving this game. And if you've watched my other videos and stuff, you know, it sure definitely showcases a lot of the abilities in the game and what you can and do. And we'll spin around here and we'll fly over the falls in the other direction. And again, the draw distance does kind of limit what you can and can't see. So that's a little bit better view from this angle. We'll go into photo mode here and we'll take a little bit better look at it. It does get a little jumpy, a little glitchy when you get these big, taller buildings and stuff, but we'll kind of zoom back over here a little bit over the falls. So that's kind of what that looks like. I do think it's picking up a lot of the the mist and stuff, that and the little bit of fog and cloud layer that's in the falls. I think that's kind of picking up in the terrain here. So we'll take a little snapshot over here. Everything for later. But we got some bigger buildings here. What we can do is, since we flew over the falls, we'll kind of fly over the buildings. I haven't flown around bigger buildings yet. I mean, I have, but I haven't videotaped them. We're going to fly past them a little bit here. We'll zip on down through here. These 3D buildings here. These are procedurally generated buildings. So they may not be 100% accurate to the actual landmark. But, I don't know any difference. I've never been here before. Let's spin around here again. Again, this is kind of where the it's a very good internet connection works. Because it does. It takes a lot to generate all this stuff. So actually, you can fly low here. Past these buildings here and stuff. Let's see what they look like. Fly back out here over the falls. Another thing I have noticed about the game, at least, I don't know, in some areas maybe, it does seem to read your altitude better. Other areas, and I guess it depends on the sea level, but I feel like sometimes that altimeter is reading your height above sea level and everything. And of course, I mean, obviously it's going to, and you should be able to dial it and change it and dial it in to give you a more accurate reading based on what the ground level above sea level is. That way you can tell how high you are off the ground and not the sea. So, like right now, I'm reading at about 600 feet, which, okay, that might be believable. But I know in my other video when I was flying over the Nevada desert there, I know in some areas I was reading like 3,000 and 4,000 feet, and I was just skimming the ground most of the time in that video. Down in here just a bit. So, but again, minor little changes, minor little things that it'll just kind of keep bringing that realism level up a hair. I mean, I know that chances are, at least with the Quest 2, this game may not get quite to where it could be with the current technology. Maybe next year. I keep seeing things about the Quest 3 coming out next year. It's supposed to be a little bit better. That's a little weird. But maybe when that comes out, maybe they'll be able to bump up the stuff on this game just a bit. So. Okay. So that was the falls. That was kind of interesting. Come up out of there. Got to see some of the larger 3D buildings. Now, yeah, if you fly through like New York, and I have, if your internet connection isn't great or isn't good enough, the buildings do load a little slower, which is all well and good and all, but if you're not high enough, then, well, you're going to smack right into one of them. So, I think I'm going to try to, I don't know if I'll videotape it until after I test it. Because like I said, because some of these areas, they don't load great. I know I tried to fly over Antarctica at one point, and it was just so white that you couldn't see anything. Like, you couldn't tell if it was the ground or fog or clouds or whatever. And I know that when I went and did that, that was, again, it was reading that I was way high up, like thousands of feet up. And so I was like, oh, well, I'll nose over and go down a little bit. Maybe I'll get closer to the ground and I'll be able to, to see the ground. No, I was not that high off the ground. It was not reading ground level, it was reading sea level. At least it felt like it, because I buried into the Antarctic. So that was not a pleasant thing. That was a little jostling. But yeah. So it might be nice to be able to adjust it for ground level and sea level. Or at least calibrate it. Try and land back at the Niagara Falls International Airport here. Complete this short little trip. Half flaps there. That's where that dead stick kind of comes in, because once those flaps come on, I got to really push this stick forward to get it to start responding again. So, I know with flaps it'll kind of pitch you up a little bit, which that's fine and dandy and all. But yeah, just a little more responsiveness in the stick. Maybe an ability to decide whether I want a flight stick like this or a steering yoke. Things like that. There's my runway right over there. Throttle off just a bit. in my other videos, you know, just I mentioned about how the developers are listening, and I really appreciate that. I really appreciate being able to make a suggestion and see it become into reality. So, I'd like to see where this game's gonna go. Already, it's a fun game. I enjoy it. I spend a lot of time in it, as you can tell from my other videos. Down here. There she is. Not bad, not bad. They're on. Quite on the lines, but hey, you know what? We're on the run. And we're alive. That's what matters. Engine off. Roll on out to a stop. Whoa! That's another thing I've noticed, that some of these runways, I mean, the terrain is procedurally generated. It picks it up based off of, like, your telemetry and terrain. Now, sometimes you end up getting a runway that does this kind of a thing. That's not an easy runway to land on. So, and obviously they can't go in and fix every single runway. There's a lot of runways in the world. So it is kind of a hit and miss. Sometimes, you know, you get good ones. Like I said, I love flying out of the Epley Airfield over in Omaha, Nebraska. It is a perfect little airport. It's nice and flat, nice big runways, no buildings on it. Like I've noticed Rosecrans, and I believe the airport over in Nevada, the one I flew off of to go help ET out in my last video, that I noticed it had some buildings on the runway, and it's those thick white touchdown lines and stuff is picking up as buildings is what it's doing. So, but I hope you enjoyed the short little video and enjoyed seeing the falls. But and we made it back in one piece. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.